Hi, and welcome to the No Channel. This is Bernadette Johnson. I'm also known as Kazaya Kizzy. And today I'm coming to you with another short video, a short little message of, some things that happened to me this week. And actually, this just been a very interesting week, and especially the latter half of this week. And I just see where the Most High has really been dealing with me this week and showing me some things this week. And one of those things is the importance of being aware that you don't know who's watching you. Now I know this is something I've heard, all my life. My mama always say, be careful how you conduct yourself and things like that because you don't know who's watching you. You don't know who's observing you. So this was something that I always been mindful of pretty much, but it was things that happened this week that it really just hit home to me. And it was when I was, on my job. Now, if you saw my previous video on your 9 to 5 could, be your divine purpose, I mentioned that I, work as a librarian. And I don't know if I said it in that video, I work as a librarian at a university. So I'll go into that later about me working at a university. But anyway, it just hit home to me how you have to be, make sure you conduct yourself and govern yourself accordingly because you don't know who's observing you. So it was on my job. And I won't go into any detail. I don't think I, should share the detail of it. But I was speaking with someone who also worked at the same place where I worked. And they paid me some compliments. She and someone else were, talking about me. And then after, the conversation ended, I was like, oh my goodness, I did not know people were observing me like that. I didn't know they were observing me like that. And the reason why it came as a surprise, as I said, I work at a university. So these are young college students. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm, in my mid 40s. These kids, they're like in their teens, early 20s, at the oldest. You have some, older students, but for the most part, the student population is in, the late teens to early 20s. And I'm like, they're not thinking about me. I'm invisible to them. But actually, I've had students, pay me compliments. And I'm like, oh, okay, so they're really noticing me. And after the conversation, this was yesterday at work. I had a conversation, with someone who also works at, the school where I work. And it really is stuck with me because you just don't know who's observing you, and may not seem like they're paying you any attention, but they are. And I also see me being a middle-aged person, a middle-aged woman, and in the school in the university where I work, it's like the student population is like 40%, a little over 40% Black or African American. And so, and they see, and these students, they see, an African American, in the position that I'm in. And I would think, well, yeah, they would, take an interest in me. And I was like, and that's why it's important that I make sure I'm setting an example where I'm making a positive impression on them. And I was like, well, because a couple of decades ago, I was in their same position. I was a student. And I also observed, FMU employees, librarians, professors. I said, well, if I'm observing, people who've already made it, they're well into their career, they're well established in their career. What made me think that these students are now are not doing the same thing? So that made me like, okay, I have to really be careful of how I carry myself, how I speak, how I conduct myself, because people are watching. And also too, and this is sad to say, a lot of people in my generation, I have to say it, a lot of times they're not setting that example. Sometimes they're acting worse than the children. How they carry on, maybe on social media, or you see, video footage of them in the news. Sometimes the parents carry on worse than the children, and that's sad. And then, as me being a woman, and I'm thinking especially African American female students would take notice of me too, because they see, okay, maybe they see someone they want to aspire to, they may be I may encourage, inspire one of them to become a librarian, with some of them to become a librarian. And I was like, you know what, it's important that I make sure I'm carrying myself, appropriately, and conducting myself properly when I step out here, and not just on my job or anywhere, but it was since it was, on my job where this happened. I'm mainly talking about my job. And I just thought, that was just very interesting. And some other things happened too that make me think that I can, make a difference. I can inspire students. And I must be honest, because the place where I work, I've been working there for almost 20 years. This year to be 19, so it was almost 20 years. And and I just think back, as I didn't really take it as seriously of how I can truly be an inspiration to some of the students that come through. And so, and as long as I'm, working here where I'm working, I'm eligible to retire in several years actually. And I plan to retire. I mean, when that time comes, I'm not sure. I don't know, but I plan to. But as long as I'm working there, I want to make sure that I'm, I set a positive example. And as I said in the previous video about the 9 to 5, and I just don't want to get it, some people might have misunderstood me to think that, oh, I'm no longer going to worry about doing something outside of my 9 to 5. No, 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 absolutely not. I still have all intentions of becoming a full-time real estate investor. That's still my end goal. However, I just realized that I wasn't, you know, taking what I'm currently in as seriously, and seeing the value in it, how it can also tie in to what my purpose is, how it can also be a training ground for what I'm to come into, what I feel the Most High is bringing me into. It can serve a purpose. So that's the thing. That's what I was trying to say. Not to say, oh, I'm no longer going to worry about trying to be my own boss. No, no way. That's still my end goal. But yes, but I just wanted to share this brief message today about the importance of um setting a good example, and setting a positive example, and being a positive role model. That's the word. That's the word I was looking for. I can be, and I did not take that as serious. How I can serve as a role model to a lot of the students, especially the African American students that come through. Because actually, when they come up to me and ask for help, and of course I'm pleasant. I smile. I'm nice, and I do all I can to help them. And I actually see how I see, like, the African American students, that is, mainly, and I just see how they light up, and how when they see me at the desk they feel comfortable, because they why? because they see someone who looks like them. And that gives them a level of comfort. And I'm like, you know what? Yes, I really need to, take my role more seriously because the Most High led me down this career path for a reason. And while I'm in this career, I'm going to be the best I can be at it. Because no matter what you're doing, I'm just not a servant of the Most High when I'm, doing, giving messages like this. No, I'm a servant of the Most High at all times, even on my job. And I should represent the Most High even on my job. As the scripture says, let your light shine before men so that they may see your good works and glorify your Father, which is in heaven. So wherever you are, shine your light. Be that positive example. Be that role model. So I hope and pray that this message, touched the hearts of those who heard it. And until next time, be blessed.